Okay, we got a host mic now. Sorry about that. I have the wrong
You
one
guys
up.
are
Oh, it's first error like that we've had in 2 years. All right.
Were you guys on WSR?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Oh,
For
okay.
some reason, I thought it was NRL. I don't know what I
It is
was.
NRL.
Well, yeah, I thought it was. I thought for
WSR.
some reason I thought it was WSR. Oh, it's
Tony, you got the right title, right?
I updated it, yes.
A federal impact assessment is required. What happens next?
Yep.
Tony, you got the right title, right?
yeah. I'm telling him
Tony, you
this.
got the right title, right? A federal impact assessment
What
is
the?
required. What happens next?
Oh, that's echoing. Oh, it's echoing.
You want me to start up the YouTube link again?
No.
Okay, I'm not started. Oh, it's
I
already
started it because
Okay.
I had to send the link to
Yeah,
them.
perfect.
All right, that should be. Okay, we're gonna go live. 8 seconds too.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Parkinson, and I'm a Senior Consultation Specialist with SNC Lavalin. Today, we are continuing our series of live stream topics as our project moves through the federal impact assessment process. The topics we are covering parallel our project activities, so we hope these will help our viewers and listeners better understand the project and provide input along the way. Just want to remind our listeners that we are broadcasting on the Wabate Radio Network to help reach community members about our project. Listeners can call or text us with questions or comments about the project at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. And again, I want to remind our listeners that we try to keep the show fun and informal while being informative at the same time. We also take music requests as long as you provide us with a comment or question about the project. And we have some interesting music that I think you guys will enjoy this week. We try to mix it up and change it up and be unpredictable. So hopefully that you'll enjoy this today. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. And today we're going to talk about what happens next after Webequie and Webequie First Nation and Martin Falls First Nation, the two project proponents for the Northern Road Link project, have officially learned that an impact assessment is required. They learned this not very long ago from the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada. So today's topic is to sort of help community members in light of that new information, help community members understand the thinking behind and activities associated with the process. And you'll find this similar to a presentation we did a few weeks ago, but we're going to include updates just so you can see exactly where we are in the process and what has happened to date, just so that you can follow along closely as we work through these radio shows and live streams. So, shall we get started here? If I'm going to run through basically what we're going to cover today. Content-wise, we're going to talk about the main phases in the impact assessment process, have a look at where we are right now in that process. We're going to look at each process phase. We're going to show you the overall coordinated environmental assessment and impact assessment process. We're going to do a comparison, which I think might be helpful for you, between the provincial EA and federal IA processes. And then we're going to do a summary at the end to hopefully tie everything together for you, and then talk about how you can contact us. So let's kick things off with the first sort of overall slide, and then we'll dive into the music after that. There's 5 main phases in the impact assessment process. There's the planning phase, which is where we are now, but we're sort of exiting the planning phase. There's the impact statement phase, which is one of the bigger phases where the studies get done. And then after that, there's the impact assessment phase, followed by the decision-making phase, and then the post-decision phase. So 5 main phases to this federal impact assessment process. And we're going to dive into each one individually just to give you a sense for what they include and hopefully help you understand the thinking behind them, be, because or behind the process, because there is a logical sort of process that follows. So we'll try to speak to that. And again, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to call in 1-844-424-0500. Call or text us toll free. That's 1-844-424-0500. But before we go any further, I think we should kick things off. I think today we're going to follow along sort of the origins, start with the origins of hip hop, and then move into some rap as well. So hopefully you'll find that entertaining. And we're going to kick things off with a hip hop classic, and this one's called "The Message" by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And I think our tech team will probably
Brandon has
know
a
this one well. And
Brandon has a message for you.
oh, Brandon has a message, does
The
he?
song is
What's your
ready.
message, Brandon?
The song's ready.
The song is ready. Thank you.
No
Let's
problem.
listen to the message, and then we'll come back and have a little chat about this song because it's a great song. So let's listen to the message, and we'll talk to you again in a few minutes.
Such a lame. Like, I hate fake empowerment songs too.
It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise, got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roaches in the back, junkies in the alley with the baseball bat. I tried to get away, but I couldn't get far, cause a man with a tow truck repossessed my car. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Standing on the front stoop, hanging out the window, watching all the cars go by, roaring as the breezes blow. A crazy lady living in a bag, eating out of garbage pails, used to be a fag hag, such a dance to tango, skipped the life and dango, a zircon princess seemed to lost her senses. Down at the peep show, watching all the creeps, so she could tell her stories to the girls back home. She went to the city and got so did it. She had to get a pimp, she couldn't make it on her own. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. My brother's doing bad, stole my mother's TV. Says she watches too much, it's just not healthy. All my children in the daytime, Dallas at night. Can't even see the game or the Sugar Ray fight. The bill collectors, they ring my phone and scare my wife when I'm not home. Got a bum education, double-digit inflation. Can't take the train to the job, there's a strike at the station. Neon King Kong standing on my back, can't stop to turn around. Broke my sacroiliac, a mid-range migraine, cancer membrane. Sometimes I think I'm going insane, I swear I might hijack a plane. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. My son said, Daddy, I don't want to go to school cause the teacher's a jerk. He must think I'm a fool and all the kids smoke reefer. I think it'd be cheaper if I just got a job, learn to be a street sweeper. I dance to the beat, shuffle my feet, wear a shirt and tie and run with the creeps. Cause it's all about money, ain't a damn thing funny. You got to have a con in this land of milk and honey. They pushed that girl in front of the train, took her to the doctor, sewed her arm on again. Stabbed that man right in his heart. Gave him a transplant for a brand new start. I can't walk through the park cause it's crazy after dark. Keep my hand on my gun cause they got me on the run. I feel like an outlaw, broke my last glass jaw. Hear them say, you want some more? Living on a seesaw. Don't push me cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Say what? It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. A child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because only God knows what you'll go through. You'll grow in the ghetto, living second rate, and your eyes will sing a song of deep hate. The places you play and where you stay looks like one great big alleyway. You'll admire all the number book takers, thugs, pimps, and pushers, and the big money makers, driving big cars, spending 20s and 10s, and you wanna grow up to be just like them. Smugglers, scramblers, burglars, gamblers, pickpocket peddlers, even panhandlers. You say I'm cool, I'm no fool, but then you wind up dropping out of high school. Now you're unemployed, all non-void, walking around like your pretty boy Floyd. Turned stick-up kid, but look what you done did. Got sent up for an 8-year bid. Now your manhood is took and you're a make tag. Spend the next 2 years as an undercover fag, being used and abused to serve like hell. Till one day you was found hung dead in a cell. It was plain to see that your life was lost. You was cold and your body swung back and forth. But now your eyes sing the sad, sad song of how you live so fast and die so young. So don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
Yo, Mel, you see that girl, man? Yeah, man. Yo, that sound like Cowboy, man. Cool. Yo, what's up, money? Yo. Hey, where's Field and Raheem, man?
They upstairs cooling out.
So what's up for the night, y'all?
Yo, we can go down to Fever, man.
We'll check out Junebug, man.
Hey, yo, you know that girl Betty?
Yeah, man.
My mom got robbed, man.
Nah,
What?
yeah,
She got hurt.
When did this happen? When did this happen?
Fire, freeze! Don't nobody move nothing. Y'all know what this is. Get 'em up. Get 'em up. Yo, man, we down with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. What is that, a gang?
No,
Just shut
man.
up. Shut up. I don't want to hear you up now. Shut up. So what's the problem? Ain't no you the problem. You the problem. Yo, you ain't got to get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the gas. I said get in the car.
Oh, we're gonna bring Dawn in. Sorry about
Five.
that, Dawn. We're late bringing you in there.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, that's a classic, isn't it, Tony?
Well, it was funny. We got caught with a hot mic while you logged off.
I heard
said, and this is because I'm an old hip hop head, and there's a new song out, and I said I hate fake empowerment songs, and so what they did is they remixed that track, but they just totally used it. They didn't like change the beat or sample it, and they put new lyrics over it, and it was like it was supposed to be empowering certain groups of people, but it was just kind of like I was like it's just kind of just ripped off the original intent of the song. So I went and did some background research, and Melly Mel said, you know what, I sign off on it because it's just proof that 30 years later it's still a hit. So I was like, okay, I'm okay with the song now. So I was like, but I was saying with Brandon, because we're hip hop heads over here, and I was like, that's that
Yeah.
fake song, like the one, because he was singing the song, like the lyrics making fun of it. But
Yeah.
Melly Mel is right; it's stood the test of time.
Amazing, eh? It's a great tune. I mean, it's considered one of like the classic hip hop songs, right? Like top five
I think it's the
classic hip
first.
hop songs.
I think it's the first
If not-
of all time. Like that would be considered, I think, a modern hip hop
First
song.
hit, I guess,
I
right?
think it's the first song.
Wow, amazing, amazing.
A great choice.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic. Well, more to come there, Tony. More to come.
Excellent.
So the beat goes on here. I just want to remind everyone that they can call or text us toll free at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. If you have a comment or question about the project, please provide that. If you want to make a music request, you have to provide us with a comment or question about the project. So there are strings attached when you have a song you'd like to hear. So let's continue on now and talk about the planning phase. And I'm going to inject a few little updates here as we talk about the planning phase here. So the IAAC description of the planning phase is basically the public and Indigenous peoples are invited to provide information and contribute to planning the assessment. So the planning phase is planning the upcoming, if it's decided to proceed to an impact assessment, it's all about putting together, understanding the project better, having IAAC, or the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, look at your description, the proponent's description of the project. In this case, it's Martin Falls First Nation and Webquay First Nation. So an initial project description is prepared. It is then put out for comment. It's posted on their website, and then their feedback is received. And then it moves to a detailed project description, which has a lot more information and addresses issues that were raised in the previous process, where the initial project description was put out for public consumption. And both of these steps have been completed by our team. So the initial project description, or IPD, has been prepared and submitted. Then we move to the detailed project description. It's been prepared and submitted and officially received. And just last week, I guess it was, a week ago today, a letter was received from Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, stating that an impact assessment for the Northern Road Link project is required. So that is our update when it comes to that, which has led to this presentation to talk to you about what happens next. So the fact that this has happened means that what's called the Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines, or TISG or TISG, are now being prepared by IAAC and will be issued. The proponents, the Martin Falls First Nation, Webquay First Nation, are to receive these Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines by August 20th. I believe this was stated in that same letter, telling us that an impact assessment is required. And so we look forward to receiving those. And just to give you an idea, the Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines are basically the work plan for the impact statement preparation. And so they might be in the provincial process, they're sort of parallel to the terms of reference, except in this case, it is the regulatory body, Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, that's preparing that work plan for us. In the Ontario provincial process, we prepare this, and then it's reviewed by the provincial government or provincial regulators, and then after a back and forth and public, and then sort of a posting of this publicly, comments are received, and they have to be addressed satisfactorily before the terms of reference is finalized. So it's a little bit different in the federal process, in that we, as the proponents, are told, are given the work plan, basically, is the best way to describe it. So that's the planning phase. And then we move on to the impact statement phase, phase 2. And in this phase, which is not a small phase or a short phase, it's described by the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada as the proponent is provided with clear requirements for the information and studies for an impact statement. Sound science and Indigenous knowledge inform the impact statement. So in this phase, the proponent basically is collecting information and conducting the studies. As per the Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines, as per the work plan that they receive from the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada. And as part of doing this, or during and prior to this as well, study plans are prepared for most of the disciplines that serve. And these are basically, study plans are detailed descriptions as to specifically how the work will be carried out. So we receive the tailored impact statement guidelines is telling us what we need to do, and then we respond as to specifically how we plan to address what is required by IAAC. And then this is where, like I said, most of the work occurs. The proponent is then busy developing the impact statement that contains all that information in the studies outlined in the TISG, or the Tailored Impact Statement guidelines. And then the agency compares the impact statement with the TISG, which is basically telling us what we are supposed to do, and sees if we've satisfied those requirements. So that's basically phase 2 of the impact statement, and that's where we are entering right now in the process, and I'll show you a little bit later on specifically where we are in that overall process. But before I do that, I think we're ready for another music selection. I'll remind everyone that they can contact us, call or text us toll free at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. If you have a comment or question about the project, please feel free to contact us. If you have a song you'd like to request, feel free to do that as well, but you have to give us a comment or question about the project. So let's move to our second music selection for the day. And this one is a song called Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. And I'm sure my friends in the control room have heard this song many times.
We've had that queued up all day long.
I bet you have.
It's been queued up, baby.
It's been queued up. Let's listen to Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang, and then we'll come back and continue.
Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to sing hello. To the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and yellow. But first, I gotta bang, bang, the boogie to the boogie. Say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie. Let's rock. You don't stop, rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song.
Check it out, I'm the CASN, the OVA, and the rest is FLY. You see, I go by the code of the doctor of the mix, and these reasons I'll tell you why. You see, I'm 6'1" and I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a T. You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously. I got bodyguards, I got 2 big cars, I definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental and a sunroof Cadillac. So after school, I take a dip in the pool, which is really on the wall. I got a color TV so I can see the Knicks play basketball. Him and talking about checkbook, credit cards, more money than a sucker could ever spend. But I wouldn't give a sucker or a punk from the rock, and not a dime till I made it again. Everybody go, hotel, motel, what you gonna do today? 'Cause I'm gonna get a fly girl, gonna get some spank and drive off in a death OJ. Everybody go, hotel, motel, holiday inn. Say if your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend. I'm Master G, my mellow is on you, so what you gonna do?
Well, it's on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I said a M-A-S, a T-E-R, a G with a double E. I said I go by the unforgettable name of the man they call a Master G. Well, my name is known all over the world by all the foxy ladies and the pretty girls. I'm going down in history as the baddest rapper that ever could be. Now I'm feeling the highs and you're feeling the lows. The beat starts getting into your toe. You start popping your fingers and stomping your feet and moving your body while you're sitting and you're singing. Then damn, they start doing the freak. I said bam, right out of your seat. Then you throw your hands high in the air. You're rocking to the rhythm, shake your dairy air. You're rocking to the beat without a care. Cruise the show, I shot MCs for the affair. Now I'm not as tall as the rest of the gang, but I rap to the beat just the same. I got a little face and a pair of rhyme eyes. All I'm here to do, ladies, is hypnotize. Singing on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I sing it on and on and on and on and on like a hot butter. The pop, the pop, the pop, give it, pop, the pop, pop. You don't dare stop or come alive, y'all. Give me what you got. I guess by now you can take a hunch and find that I am the baby of the bunch, but that's okay. I still keep in stride, cause all I'm here to do is just a wiggle your behind. Sing it on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. Sing it on and on and on and on and on. Rock, yo, throw it on the floor. I'm gonna freak you here, I'm gonna freak you there. I'm gonna move you out of this atmosphere, cause I'm one of a kind and I'll shock your mind. I put the jiggers in your behind. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, come on, girls, get on the floor, come alive, yo, give me what you got, cause I'm guaranteed to make you rock. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, tell me Wonder Mike, what are you waiting for?
To the hip hop, the hippie to the hippie, the hip hip, the hopper, you don't stop, rockin' to the bang bang, the boogie, say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogity beat. Well, skittle bebop, we rock a Scooby Doo, and guess what? America, we love you, cause you're rockin' a roll with us so much so you can rock till you're 101 years old. I don't mean to brag, I don't mean to boast, but we're like hot butter on a breakfast toast. Rock it out, a baby bubba to the boogity bang bang, the boogie to the beat. Beat is so unique, come on everybody and dance to the beat. Ever went over a friend's house to eat and the food just ain't no good? I mean the macaroni soggy, the peas are mushed, and the chicken tastes like wood. So you try to play it off like you think you can by saying that you're full. And then your friend says, Mama, he just being polite, he ain't finished, that's bull. So your heart starts pumping and you think of a lie and you say that you already ate. And your friend says, man, there's plenty of food, so he piles some more on your plate. But while the sticky food's steaming, your mind starts to dreaming of the moment it's time to leave. And then you look at your plate and your chicken's slowly rotting into something that looks like cheese. So you say, that's it, I got to leave this place, I don't care what these people think. I'm just sitting here making myself nauseous with this ugly food that stinks. So you bust out the door while it's still closed, still sick from the food you ate. And then you run to the store for quick relief from a bottle of KO Pectate. And then you call your friend 2 weeks later to see how he has been. And he says, I understand about the food, babe, but we're still friends. But with a hip hop, the hippie to the hippie, the hip hip, the hopper, you don't stop the rockin' to the bang bang.
I think
Okay,
that
we
was
are back.
a modified version of the song.
Oh, really? You think so?
Does it feel like it was a bit longer, Don?
Well, it should be. The version I listened to this morning was like 7:07.
Yeah, that's what because he goes on with the KO Pectate and then he goes on a little longer. So that version is a weird one. It just kind of cuts off artificially after the KO Pectate, after the chicken.
I
that
like
tastes
the KO
wood.
Pectate version. I love the lyrics.
Yeah, like here.
Well, how do I do a segue from KO Pectate?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what comes after that. I'm trying to remember because he said the chicken that tastes like wood. To the up jump the buddy. I can't even do that.
Oh, well, we're back, everyone, as you can tell, and we're having lots of fun today with some of our music selections. And let's move on now. Just before I do that, actually, I'll remind everyone that they can call or text us toll free at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. If you have comments or questions about the project, please feel free to provide them. And if you have a musical selection or musical request, please do the same, but you have to give us a comment or a question about the project. So let's move on now to phase 3, the impact assessment phase of the federal impact assessment process. So this is a little further down the road from where we are now, but it's always good to know what's coming next. So the IAAC description of this phase is as follows. The assessment considers potential environmental, health, social, and economic impacts of proposed projects, including benefits. Potential impacts on Aboriginal and treaty rights are also assessed and consulted on. The agency or review panel uses the information to develop an impact assessment report. So, an impact statement is prepared based on all the studies. So all that field work and all the studies, the technical team working for the proponent puts together, as well as the proponent puts together the impact statement. And then this gets submitted to IAAC, and they do the impact assessment. And as I just read, they develop, they look at these potential environmental, health, social, and economic impacts of these projects, and look at benefits as well too, and they look at treaty rights, Aboriginal and treaty rights, and they also get, of course, all through this process is consultation, engagement and consultation with Indigenous communities, and the general public as well. So that goes on throughout the entire process. That sort of consultation and engagement process goes on. So there's constant feedback coming in as the impact assessment moves through its overall process. And during this time in phase 3, the agency develops like both draft and final impact assessment reports, as well as a consultation report, so a report on feedback that they have received from their consultation efforts, and on consultation that has been conducted by the proponent as well too, as part of their responsibility. So um, all that feedback is coming in at different points in time, and then the agency develops recommended potential conditions. So when we talk about conditions, these would be conditions of approval. So if the project were approved, it would be approved subject to certain conditions, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. So all this information that in all these activities culminate in this being provided to the minister for the next phase of the process, which is where decision making occurs. So before we go any further, I think we're ready for another musical selection. I'll just remind everyone that they can call or text us toll free at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. Comments or questions about the project. If you have a music selection or song you'd like to play, you can do that, but just provide us a comment or question about the project. And so let's move on to our third selection. This one we've played before on our radio shows, but it's a great song, so there's no reason why we can't play it again. And this one is by Eminem, and it's called Lose Yourself. And this is a really famous rap song, which has been around for quite a while now, hasn't it, Tony?
Yeah. It's been featured
15 to 20 years, maybe?
In a movie, and I think it's probably one of the most popular songs he's ever done.
Oh, for sure. Right? He's done a lot of great stuff. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. You ever watch those induction ceremonies? They're great.
I haven't. I suspect Eminem would have showed up with his mother.
I believe he did.
And Kim.
Show up with his mother.
Kim and his mother.
Yes. Kim and yeah, that's right. That's right. So let's listen to Lose Yourself by Eminem, and then we'll come back and talk about phase 4.
Shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment that you captured, just let it slip. Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, blow. Snap back
back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter. He's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stagnant. He knows when he goes back to this mobile home. That's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go capture this moment and hope it don't pass. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better. The soul's escaping through this hole that is gaping. This world is mine for the taking. Make me king as we move toward a new world order. A normal life is boring, but superstardom's close to postmortem. It only grows harder, homie grows hotter. He blows, it's all over. These fools is all on him. Coast to coast shows, he's known as the Globetrotter. Lonely roads, God only knows he's grown farther from home. He's no father. He goes home and barely knows his own daughter. But hold your nose, cause here goes the cold water. These don't want him no more. He's cold product. They moved on to the next mo who flows. He knows dove and sold nada. And so the soap opera is told. It unfolds, I suppose it's old partner, but the beat goes on. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better. No more games. I'ma change what you call rage. Tear this roof off like two dogs' cage. I was playing in the beginning, the mood all changed. I've been chewed up and spit out and booed off stage, but I kept rhyming and stepped right in the next cipher. Best believe somebody's paying the Pied Piper. All the pain inside amplified by the fact that I can't get by with my 9 to 5, and I can't provide the right type of life for my family. Cause man, these damn food stamps don't buy diapers, and there's no movie, there's no Mackay Pfeiffer. This is my life, and these times are so hard, and it's getting even harder trying to feed and water my seed. Plus, see this order caught up between being a father and a prima donna. Baby mama drama screaming on her too much for me to wanna stay in one spot. Another damn monotony's gotten me to the point I'm like a snail. I've got to formulate a plot or end up in jail or shot. Success is my only option. Failure's not. Mama love you, but this trailer's got to go. I cannot grow old in Salem's lot. So here I go, it's my shot. Feet fail me not. This may be the only opportunity that I got. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better. You can do anything you set your mind to, man.
Yeah, you better lose yourself.
That's another classic, though. That's a great song. It's just got that intensity to it, you know?
Yeah, I like the Mom Spaghetti. I think everyone's always fixated on that line. They get so nervous. Mom Spaghetti. Did you see a guy made a remix where it always comes back to Mom Spaghetti? At the end of every line, and he mixed it perfectly, so everything's Mom Spaghetti. It's pretty epic. For anyone out there, you should check it out.
It's such a great song because of the lyrics but just the music itself, like the intensity of it, and the drama that it creates. I think it's amazing.
It's good.
It's just an absolute classic.
That's why he's a rock and roll Hall of Famer.
That's right. Well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has a lot of non-rock and roll people in it. Didn't Dolly Parton enter it recently?
Oh man, there's no one more rock than Dolly Parton.
Yeah. Exactly. But I would like to go and see one of those induction ceremonies. I think it'd be really good.
See what you got a show that's coming up that could be one of the most famous and most powerful ones. Do Dolly Parton in old time country. I'm telling you, everybody in Indian country would love it.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I guess
right?
they would.
Get some Dolly Parton, get
Yeah,
some Conway Twitty, get some George, well, not George Strait. Who am I thinking? George. Well, maybe George Strait. Maybe
George.
George Strait.
Yeah, there's another
George.
George, isn't there? In
Oh,
the
George Conway. No,
George Conway. That's George
that's
Conway.
the wife of that Trump
That's
advisor.
the wife of
He's a lawyer.
constitutional lawyer. Just a little bit off mark.
Throw him in there. He has a song coming out, I'm sure.
George Conway. I saw him on CNN the other night in a panel. But anyway,
Oh yeah. There's songs about
so that was
wives
Lose
like he had. So that's
yeah. So that was "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, and I'll move on now to talk a little bit about phases 4 and 5. So when we move into phase 4 of the impact assessment process, this is what you call the decision-making phase. So let me just read you the IAAC description of this phase. So their description is as follows: public interest is at the center of decisions. The impact assessment report and Crown consultation outcomes inform the minister or governor and council decision on whether a project's adverse impacts are in the public interest. If yes, then the minister must establish conditions for the proponent. Decision statements set out the rationale for the decision making, providing transparency and accountability. So, if the federal government look at the adverse or negative impacts of the project, um, but still feels the project is in the public interest, then they can approve the project but establish conditions for the proponent. So the leader of the project, in this case, Martin Falls First Nation and Webequie First Nation. So these decision statements that come from the minister, they provide the reasoning for the decision, and they do it in a way that is um, transparent, so clear to everyone, and shows accountability. So when we talk about accountability, in this case, well, that's more sort of phase 5. Accountability is where um, the proponent has to demonstrate through monitoring projects and meeting the conditions of the project that no adverse impacts are occurring, and if they are, then they have to address any of those impacts. So just going on a little further, before making that decision, the decision maker from the federal side must be satisfied that the Crown duty to consult and accommodate Indigenous peoples has been fulfilled, so that there's been appropriate and sufficient consultation effort. Um, Once that determination has been made, the minister will issue what's called a decision statement to the proponent with the reasons for the determination and conditions, so they can either accept or reject or accept with conditions as well too. So that's phase 4. And now let's move to phase 5. Phase 5 is post decision. So the way IAAC describes this is that the agency will be active in verifying compliance with decision statements and correcting non-compliance. There will be greater transparency around follow-up programs, with increased access to key documentation, as well as increased opportunities for Indigenous and community participation in follow-up and monitoring programs. So if the project is approved with conditions, this is the monitoring and compliance portion to make sure that those conditions are being met. The proponent is the one responsible for developing and carrying out the follow-up and monitoring programs, subject to the review of IAAC, Impact Assessment Agency of Canada. The IAAC may establish what's called a monitoring committee, if they choose to provide additional confidence and oversight, sort of making sure that the science is being done properly, and that the evidence and the information being collected is clearly indicates whether conditions are being met or not. IAAC will track and report on these follow-up and monitoring programs and publicly post this information so that members of the public can see, can ensure themselves, if they wish to, that the project is meeting its conditions of approval. IAAC is responsible for making sure there's compliance with that decision statement, and undertaking compliance and enforcement measures where they have to, where it's necessary. And when there's non-compliance, if some of the conditions aren't being met for whatever reason, IAAC will work with the proponent to get the situation back to one that's in compliance. So it's sort of like an enforcement phase, monitoring and enforcement phase, to make sure that all those conditions are being met and that no adverse impacts are occurring. So it's an important phase 5, and one that can often involve other Indigenous communities in the region, or other interest groups in the region as well too, to ensure that they are satisfied, and transparency is a key part of this particular part of the process. So before we approach the end of our presentation, I think we should play another song here, and I'm looking at my list and I see one called Juicy by the Notorious B.I.G. I'm sure, Tony, you're familiar with that one?
Yeah, super familiar. One of my favorites.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, I'm a big
Wow.
B.I.G. fan ever since he came out.
Okay.
Yeah. Players Anthem.
Let's
You ever
listen
hear
to
Players Anthem?
Oh, yes, I've heard that one before.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's good. You're a very cultured man. I will give you that, Don.
You know, I try to be. I try to do that. I try to, keep an open mind and listen to lots of different kinds of music, and
You should check out Coy Ray. She does a song called Players. If you want to be up to date,
Coy
if you want to be up to date with what the kids are listening to, Coy Ray. Girls are players too.
Okay. So let's go ahead and listen to Juicy by the Notorious B.I.G., and then we'll come back and wrap things up.
Yeah, this album is dedicated to all the teachers that told me I never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings that I was hustling from, that called the police on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter. Yeah. And to all my peoples in the struggle, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby. Shake it. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack Mr. Magic Molly Mall. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on private stock. Way back when I had the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. Remember rapping Duke? The hard. You never thought that hip hop would take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight cause I rhyme tight. Time to get paid, blow up like the world trade. Born sinner, the opposite of a winner. Remember when I used to eat sardines for dinner? Peace to Ron G, Brucey B, Kid Capri. Funk Master Flex, Love Bug, Star Ski. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. Call a crib, same number, same hood. It's all good. And if you don't know, now you know. I made the change from a common thief to up close and personal with Robin Leach. And I'm far from cheap, I smoke skunk with my peeps all day. Spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. The Moet and Alizé keep me pissy. Girls used to diss me, now they write letters cause they miss me. I never thought it could happen, this rapping stuff. I was too used to packing ice and stuff. Now honeys play me close like butter play toast. From the Mississippi down to the East Coast, condos in Queens, indo for weeks. Sold out seats to hear Biggie Small speak. Living life without fear, putting 5 carats in my baby girl ear. Lunches, brunches, interviews by the fool. Considered a fool cause I dropped out of high school. Stereotypes of a black male misunderstood. And it's still all good, And if you don't know, now you know, you know, you know.
You know very well who you are. Don't let 'em hold you down. Reach for the stars.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this. 50-inch screen, money green leather sofa. Got 2 rides, a limousine with the chauffeur. Phone bill about 2 G's flat. No need to worry, my accountant handles that. And my whole crew is lounging, celebrating every day, no more public housing. Thinking back on my one-room shack. Now my mom pimps an act with minks on her back. And she loves to show me off, of course. Smiles every time my face is up in the sauce. We used to fuss when the landlord dissed us. No heat, wonder why Christmas missed us. Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we thirsty. Damn right I like the life I live. Cause I went from negative to positive and it's all And if you don't know, now you know, you know, you know.
You know very well who you are.
And if you don't know, now you know, you know, you know. And if you don't know, now you know, you know, you know. Let the beat down in the house. Junior Mafia, Mad Flavor.
I see you,
Yeah. Alright.
Junior Mafia.
Hey, yeah. You know very well who you are. Don't let 'em hold you down. Reach for the stars. You have to go. 'Cause you're the only one. I'll give you good infinite.
Money earning, my burning. South Central, Detroit.
And if you
Okay,
don't
we are
know,
back.
now you know, Dawn.
Yes, that was Juicy by the Notorious B.I.G. Great song, great song.
Oh, delicious. You're not going to go wrong with anything by IG.
You are not, that's for sure. Well, we're almost ready to wrap up here. Let's move on now to talk about the coordinated EAIA process. So, now this process is, so you've got 3 processes working in parallel with each other. You have the Webequie and Martin Falls internal community processes, where they're doing their own evaluation of the project, applying their own values. And then you have both the federal IA and provincial EA processes, so federal impact assessment and provincial environmental assessment processes. So right now, as I mentioned, we're awaiting for August 20th, when we will receive the tailored impact statement guidelines for the federal process. Meanwhile, in the provincial process, we have recently had our terms of reference or work plan for the environmental assessment approved. So now we are moving into, we have moved into the environmental assessment phase of the provincial EA process. So in terms of the coordination of just talking about the federal and provincial processes, the main coordination occurs. I mean, there is communication all through this process between the federal and provincial regulators, but the main coordination is the single document that is produced by the proponent, that is submitted for both for review by both the federal government and by the provincial government. So that's sort of where the coordination fits in, and in comparing, it's useful to compare the two processes. Um, in terms of the work plan, so in the EA process, the Ontario environmental assessment process, as I mentioned before, the proponent prepares a terms of reference or a work plan, and then this is then reviewed by the ministry, MECP, the Ministry of Environment. But in the impact assessment process, the federal process, the proponent prepares the initial project description, a detailed project description, and then IAAC, the federal regulator, uh, reviews that and responds with the issuance of tailored impact statement guidelines, which is basically the work plan for the IA. So in the provincial process, the proponent prepares the work plan. In the federal process, the work plan is essentially prepared for the proponent. That's the sort of the main difference between the two processes. And as I said, there is some coordination at different points. Generally, the processes are still quite separate, but a single document is submitted, and I think that should cover that topic right there. I want to give everyone a bit of a summary to review all of this because I know it's a lot of information for everyone. So let's go through what we talked about earlier. There are 5 phases: the planning phase, the impact statement phase, the impact assessment phase, the decision-making phase, and the post-decision phase. Planning phase is basically talking about is basically setting everything up for the impact statement phase, the initial project description, the detailed project description. This then goes to IAAC. IAAC then makes a decision whether an impact assessment is required, which they have in our case for the Northern Road Link project, and they will be issuing by August 20th the tailored impact statement guidelines, the work plan for the impact assessment. And then there's the impact statement phase after the planning phase. And in that impact statement phase, the studies are done, the data is collected, and impacts are any impacts are identified, potential impacts are identified, and then this is submitted back to IAAC, who then do an impact assessment. Then a decision is made by the minister. They go through a process of reviewing all the material. And they make a decision, and if they do approve the project, typically they will approve it with conditions and requirements that have to be met. And then the post decision phase, the final phase, is where monitoring and compliance occurs, where the proponent's responsible for putting together doing the monitoring and putting together the monitoring plans, reviewed by the IAAC as well. And then there's enforcement that occurs at the federal level as well. Consultation with Indigenous communities and the public occurs throughout the process. The proponent, I've talked about this before, prepares a detailed description of the project. So there's a lot to this process. But it makes a lot of sense. Information is gathered, it's then reviewed by the regulators, decisions are made, and then a work plan is set out. The work is then conducted, resubmitted to the federal government, who then make a decision. So as complicated as it may appear, it makes a lot of sense, and it is quite comprehensive. So um, I hope this was helpful today. It's a challenging topic, but I hope this gives you an idea of where we are now in the process. And I want to encourage you to contact us. Contact information is available on our website, northernroadlink.ca. You can email us at info@northernroadlink.com. You can call us at 1-888-515-3607 as well. So that wraps up today's discussion. We hope it was helpful and encourages you to join us again in 2 weeks. Don't forget to keep in touch with our project team members via the contact information available on our website, northernroadlink.ca. Miigwech, and make sure to look out for project updates on social media and our website. See you again in 2 weeks. Miigwech.